Just got this in, so this is the FIMI Mini X8. Now, this is my first FIMI drone. I bought this with my own money. This is not a sponsored review. It's also going back for a full refund, unfortunately. We're going to explore the problems that I had, solutions and fixes that I tried to rectify them, and in the end, I hope that my experience will help you decide whether or not this is a drone that you should purchase right now, or perhaps wait until some quality control and firmware problems are ironed out. My FIMI X8 Mini arrived safe and sound from B&H Photo and Video here in the United States. It comes from the first batch of FIMIs, which has the non-pro battery that makes it just above the 250 gram weight size, requiring registration here in the United States. Now they've got the pro battery out, so you can get an under 250 gram Mini, but this was the only option at the time that I ordered. My problems with the FIMI Mini begin with the crooked horizon right from the first flight. Now this is prior to a gimbal calibration. I did not do any calibration of the gimbal because I just wanted to see what it was like out of the box. And it's horrifying. As you can see, the horizon is way off. Way off. And of course it tries to correct itself a little bit as you yaw, but it was really off. So I took it inside and I did the gimbal calibration process. I made sure it was on a level surface, let that go through. Now this is the automatic calibration. It said it succeeded, and unfortunately it's still really crooked. I was starting to feel pretty bad right now because FIMI is pretty famous for having a crooked horizon issue. A lot of people struggle with this. It's a very common problem, but I knew that mine seemed to be worse than most of what I'd seen online in others' videos. It was time to try a different method. FIMI offers an advanced gimbal calibration method that allows you to manually adjust the P, R, and Y axis of the gimbal. And to do that, they say to try to find a vertical or horizontal background as a reference to help adjust these axes. Now, some people use the molding in their house or anything that they know is level vertically or horizontally. Now, I took this a step further and I decided to break out my cutting mat, put it up against my fireplace, which I knew that whole area was completely level, and I lined it up with the FIMI, and not only did I adjust the center, I also fixed the horizon. And you can see it's actually pretty off. Just look at the mat. Look at where the center of the mat is. Here I'm lining that up, and now I'm going to correct the horizon, and I think that looked pretty good. So I saved that, calibrated the gimbal, allowed it to dial that in. This was the flight after the calibration. Wow. It was a night and difference. I was feeling pretty good at this point. This is a nice, bright, sunny day. Here I am flying out toward the back here, just taking a look at the horizon. Okay, maybe there's a little bit of something, but it's certainly not the incredible slant that we had before. Maybe it could use some work, I was thinking. It was definitely going to be a work in progress. This is me panning around as well, just trying to trigger the gimbal issue, just purposefully trying to trigger it, and it's not coming up. So well, yeah, you can see a little horizon tilt just there, but overall, definitely a massive improvement from before. I want to take a moment to talk about a square-like smudge that's appearing in the upper right-hand corner of all of my video and pictures that you've seen up until this point. You probably already noticed it. This smudge is some kind of contamination behind the lens cover. There's a cover that you can't remove. It's a non-removable cover that goes over the sensor lens. Now, at first I thought it was just a fingerprint, so I grabbed my microfiber cloth and I carefully cleaned it off. I did this like 2 or 3 times to no avail. It didn't solve the problem. So to me, that said that there's something either on this lens sensor itself or it's behind the glass. I wasn't really sure which, but here's the funny thing. It disappeared. I threw the FIMI up in the air and the ghost smudge was gone. So here's what I think happened. Just from general use and handling, whatever little particle was in there fell off, and it's probably still in there. It's probably still underneath, behind this lens sensor cover here. Now you can't get this cover off, not easily anyway, so it needs to be professionally cleaned, and it absolutely does warranty a return if you have this issue. But if you can't or don't want to return it, you could try giving it a hard tap or wait it out and hope it falls off and stays off. Another issue I'm having with my FIMI Mini is the gimbal degree pitch shift problem, or gimbal flopping. Now, when I change the degree of pitch myself, you can see it with the slider in the upper right-hand corner there. When I'm not changing it, it's doing it on its own, as it just did there. We're down to negative 5.3 degrees. And this happens multiple times during a flight, sometimes multiple times in succession. For example, we went from negative 7 to negative 9 to negative 11. And it's really, really jarring. So I conducted some experimenting with the app using the flight speed limit option because I wanted to see if maybe flying slower or faster made a difference. Trying 30 miles an hour, 20 miles an hour, and 10 miles an hour to see if the issue occurred at those rates of speed. And what I will say is this: if you're flying at 10 miles an hour, this is when you're least likely to have this problem occur. However, it still does. And for me, only being able to fly at 10 miles an hour is obviously not working correctly, because you should be able to fly at any rate of speed that's not sport mode, at least 25 miles an hour, if I want to be conservative about it, and expect your gimbal to not flop all over the place. I've talked about the gimbal flopping downward, but it also flops upward, and very consistently. If I set my gimbal to negative 90 degrees and fly forward, it'll flop up by 12 degrees, sometimes 15 degrees even. And this is very easily reproducible, so something is clearly wrong here. This is a pretty big problem with my FIMI Mini because I can't trust that my gimbal pitch is not going to change by a very large degree, and every time it happens, it's going to ruin my shot. It's going to ruin what I'm trying to stay focused on. And so I would say this is actually an even bigger issue than the horizon tilt or the smudge that I had earlier in the video. Hey, at least you can hide the smudge. You can't hide this. Let's talk positivity about the FIMI Mini for a little bit and change gears here. I really like the detail that this camera provides, especially in such a small package like this. This is one of the best cameras that I've seen on its level in terms of detail. The image does look darker a little bit in the corners, but it's overall balanced for me. I don't feel that there's any spotlighting in the center. Everything seems to be even in terms of color and contrast. I was also happy with the transmission system for the video on this drone. I was able to very easily reach 3,000 feet out from a non-optimal position, and my video signal was still clear, it wasn't breaking up, and I could have probably gone further, but honestly, I don't have a whole lot of interest in flying something so small like this at long range. Another thing I like about the FIMI is that it doesn't try to tell you when and where you can fly. That's left up to you as the pilot, unlike DJI drones. Now, here's a perfect example. Just flying at this location, the FIMI app shows nothing. There's no restrictions at all in the area because we're 9 miles away from an airport here. This is Class G airspace. Now, if we take a look at the DJI Fly app, there's actually a huge warning zone because it's caught in the bow tie from an airport that's 9 miles away. Now, as you can see, according to the FAA, this area is fine. You should be able to fly this. There's no tower to talk to. DJI just decided that this is a warning zone at first, so you can fly into it, but the farther ways you go up, eventually you're going to hit an authorization zone requiring a further unlock. And this is just something not a lot of people want to deal with. They just want to be able to fly, not have to worry about unlocks and arbitrary bow ties, and just go. And so FIMI drones have a lot of appeal in that aspect, but unfortunately, none of the positives can allow me to overlook the problems that I have with this drone. I had the horizon tilt, the gimbal pitch shifting, gimbal shakes, and then the contaminated lens, and all of it just made me unhappy, so I decided to send it back. I understand that this drone is only $320, but I have a problem with that because $320 is still $320, and if it doesn't work right, then it's not worth keeping. It's just not worth dealing with. I would rather have had a working FIMI for $400 than $320 because this is just unusable. It doesn't seem to matter what FIMI Mini video I watch, all of them have some degree of horizon tilt, and there really just shouldn't be any at this point. I've flown toy drones with toy grade gimbals that don't have the tilt that I see coming out of these FIMI minis. Why can't FIMI solve this? Why can't they fix this? I'm just thinking I'm better off sending this thing in and then waiting and seeing what happens. I'm not against picking this thing up 6 months from now if I find out FIMI knuckled down and then ended up fixing all of the little bugs and issues that this quad has. But I'm not going to sit here and chance that they won't. The FIMI team has a history of not addressing issues quickly or addressing them in a half-baked way that resolves issues for some and doesn't resolve the issues for others. And at this point in time, I don't want to get caught up in the middle of all of that. So that concludes my FIMI Mini experience. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you found it honest as well as informative. Please subscribe. I do a lot of various drone reviews on this channel. Some are sponsored, some are not. I do FPV drones as well if you want to get into that. And like I said, maybe we'll revisit the FIMI Mini in the future. I wish FIMI all the best, and I hope that they get the issue sorted. Competition is great for all of us. The more competitors that are out there, the better it is for the consumer. So I want to see them win. I want the underdog to make it through this, and hopefully they work it out. That's it, guys. Let me know if you have any questions. I'd love to hear from you. Tell me about your FIMI Mini experience. Are you seeing any of what I saw in my first batch FIMI? Let me know down in the comments below, and we can all get a discussion going. And with that being said, I hope you guys have a great day. I'm going to go do some flying. You guys take care.